How you guys doing today? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. How you doing? Oh, this is gonna be a good day. All right, folks, we're voice actors. You have questions, we're gonna answer them. That's really how it works. So raise up some hands and shout some stuff out. Way back in the back.
I have a question for I noticed you went to Gathering of the Gargoyles. What was that like?
She was asking me what it was like to go to the Gathering of the Gargoyles. It was great. I actually, I went to the first Gargoyles Gathering in 2000. The reason being is because I had a friend who was close friends with the creator and producer Greg Weisman. And so I was living in New York at the time, and the gathering was in Los Angeles. And so I was thinking of moving to Los Angeles to do more voiceover work. And so they said, you should meet up with these people and come to the gathering. So I did. And not only did I meet Greg Weisman there, with whom I am now working on the new Spider-Man series on the CW, where I play Electro, but I also met Taliesin Jaffe and Jonathan Klein, who had just picked up this show called Hellsing. And they were holding auditions in Los Angeles, and I said, I can come to those auditions in Los Angeles. So, but I also made very good friends with Greg Weisman and a bunch of the rest of the Gargoyles crew, and I did a really good impersonation of the Broadway gargoyle, which they all loved. And so I sort of became this sort of unofficial guest, voice actor guest at Gargoyles, even though I'd never been on the show. So I was just at the one, they happen in all sorts of different places. I haven't been to many of them. I usually only do them when they're in LA, so there was one last year, I believe it was, in LA, so I was there at that gathering as well. But it's always fun to see all my buddies there. Yes, Inu. Sit.
This is a question for Crispin Freeman.
I'll find him. Hang on. Yes.
What was it like playing Itachi Uchiha in the Naruto series?
Itachi, what was it like playing Itachi? It was fabulous because, actually, it was funny, I played a very small role, Ebisu, in Naruto, and then, yay, Ebisu! Gets bowled over by the sexy jutsu. They cut all the blood coming out of his nose, obviously, but he was just a fountain. Then I was out of sort of Naruto for a long time, and then Mary Elizabeth called me up and said, I've got the perfect part for you, it's great, I've been waiting to give this part to someone. I said, who is it? Oh, this Itachi guy, he's got these really creepy eyes. I'm like, cool. And I showed up and I was like, oh yeah, I like this guy. This guy's good. So yeah, I'm all about playing the evil older brother who kills everybody. I don't know why. It's fun. Blue hair.
What was your favorite line for Itachi?
Oh, come on, it's very simple. Sasuke, you're too weak. Yes. Yes, I've heard they're making a new Slayer series, Slayer's Revolution. I would love to be Zelgadis. It is not up to me. This is a common misconception that people have. As an actor, I audition for roles, and then the directors and the producers hire me. So, the directors and the producers make the decision about who plays what role, not me. So, depending on if it gets picked up in America, and depending on which licensing company picks it up, what studio they decide to do it, and if they decide to do it union, then I will be able to audition for it, and I'll be able to reprise my role as Zelgadis if they cast me, which they may not. They may say, we don't like you as Zelgadis, go away. So I don't know. I have heard nothing, and I usually don't hear anything. You guys usually hear long long before I do, because I don't believe it until they call me to come to the studio to record. I don't even believe it after we record it until I've signed my contract, and then I don't really believe it until I get the check in the mail. So, you guys will probably know well before I do whether I'll be playing Zelgadis or not, ironically enough. Way in the back. That's a good question for everybody. Who wants to start?
Well, personally, it's as far as voice acting goes, I always say take acting lessons because it's called voice acting for a reason. And I went to the University of Houston, studied drama, theater, and all that stuff. That's where I got my degree in, and I've been a professional actor for 20 years. And that's it. Thanks.
I started actually acting, I think, around high school. I was doing plays at school, and then I majored in theater and minored in computer science in college. And then I actually got my master's in acting, my MFA from Columbia in New York. So I am overtrained. I have too much training. But my good friend Steve Bloom, who you may know from many things like Cowboy Bebop and The Big O and whatnot. Steve has absolutely, and he's the new, he's Wolverine, and the new Wolverine in the X-Men. Steve has zero acting training. But what he did have was he was in the industry. He was working in the industry and he was behind the scenes a lot. So he saw what was going on, and he was just the kind of guy who could sort of pick it up as he goes along. But even so, he is always like, maybe I should go take some acting lessons. So it depends. To me, it's like about having a professional mindset about it. So, but yeah, I come from a lot of training, and Steve comes from none. So there you go.
Hi. I also started in high school about the same time. I did some little stuff when I was in middle school. I guess it's always kind of been in my blood. And I graduated from TCU, which is Texas Christian University in Fort Worth, also with a degree in theater. But how I got into voice acting was a little bit different. Some of you may know Cynthia Krantz. She plays Mitzi on Shin-Chan, and she was Chi-Chi on Dragon Ball Z. Woo! Yeah, that is my best friend, and we happened to be in a play together. And actually, we were in a play called You Can't Take It With You. I don't know if you know this play, but anyway, we were in the play together.
Can't take it with me. How am I supposed to?
Exactly. And she was already doing a lot of voiceover acting at the time, and she called me one night, just out of the blue, and said, you know, Funimation is looking for a villain. You need to come up here and read for this part. And I had like Oreos dripping down my chin, and I was like, I can't go to an audition. I'm in sweats. She said, it's a voice acting audition. They don't care what you look like. So I went up and I read for Chris Sabat. You probably know who he is. And I got my first role as Amick in Blue Gender, and that's how I started in voice acting. But back to what Spike was saying, is I think that, you know, having a background in acting and having a theater background in particular helps. So that's my opinion. I know some people don't agree with that. Oh, you use that.
I got my own. I agree. I mean, even if you can't start off voice acting, doing theater, like along with them, like middle school, high school, I was in theater doing print commercials.
This year.
Yes, I was Dr. Janet Carter in Attack of the Killer Mutant Leeches. But you know, anything that you can possibly do doesn't necessarily have to be voice acting. Improv, I think improv's great to do, because when you go in an audition, it's always a dry reading. You don't know what you're going to read for. And so improv, theater, anything that you can do, even if it's not voice acting, just get your foot in the door in the industry.
I think if you asked, if you polled voice actors, I think it's safe to say probably close to 80% of them have theater experience. And of those that have theater experience, the majority of them have a lot of improv experience. And the remaining 20% are people who got into radio and have just been doing DJing forever and are very comfortable on a mic. I think Billy West comes from that sort of school of stuff. He wasn't necessarily a theater actor, but he was a big radio guy. So that's, you know, and in both cases, you're acting. You're acting, you're acting, you're acting. And you don't need a microphone to act. Yes, in the blue shirt. Don't let the camera get in the way.
Concerning how you and Corey Walgren end up playing parts together a lot, is it awkward playing a love interest with her in one anime and playing a sibling in another?
Kari and I get, she's saying, Kari Walgren and I get cast in a lot of anime together, and we're either brother and sister or we're husband and wife. And does that get strange? Not in anime.